Hi, and welcome everyone to Ethereal Encounters Unveiled. Today we are broadcasting live on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 on the Gulf Coast and 107.7 FM in beautiful New Orleans. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. And of course, to reiterate, welcome to Ethereal Encounters Unveiled, as well as the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network. And of course, they stream on FM as well. And you can find them at 105.3 FM and on the Gulf Coast and 107.7 FM in New Orleans. We have a chat, so please be sure and pop in. We love hearing from you guys. And of course, we're live today. We're super excited about that. We're live on Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. And hopefully things will stay that way. If not, going into next year, things might change, but we will see how they go. We'll always stream at least twice a week live. So I have a really fascinating topic and guest today. And I'm so excited to be able to welcome and talk to him. Because in a world that often feels overwhelming, fast-paced, and chaotic, our guest tonight offers a powerful roadmap for returning to our center and unlocking the immense potential that we all carry within. He's a recognized spiritual teacher, author, and guide, and he's committed to helping people move from the unconscious living to conscious creation. And I love that. Tonight, we're going to dive into his profound work, Discovering Your Highest Vibration. This is the name of his book. Realize Your Full Potential through Chakra Work and Meditation. And he's also an ET experiencer, and we're definitely going to be digging into that topic as well. But this book is not just about esoteric concepts. It's a practical handbook for healing, grounding, and consciously raising your frequency to attract and experience the life that you truly desire. His book guides us through 7 powerful energy centers, our chakras, and shows us how the transformative power of inner stillness can literally change our reality. So we're excited to welcome the author, Jiulio Consiglio, and let me bring him on stage. Hi, Jiulio. How are you?
Hi, Caroline. I'm great. Thank you for those kind words. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. So thank you very much.
Thank you, dear. Super excited to dig into this. And you'll hear me say hello to folks as they pop in. So we have Michelle with us today. Good day, Michelle.
Hi there.
Always a blessing to see you. And we're going to have a bunch of other people pop in as well. So excuse me as I wave to them and say hello.
Absolutely.
Good. So there's so much to talk about. But first, I want to dig into you. And I want to find out what brought you to this place that you arrived at today. You're a published author. You've had so many experiences. I'm going to let you talk about them, of course. But if you could just give us a rundown of, because I think you were a dental hygienist, right?
I was
Prior.
dental hygienist and educator. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think the roadmap that took you here today is so amazing. And I'd like to give you some time to talk about that. So take it away.
Thank you. So between the ages of 19 and 33, I experienced some pretty profound and intense anxiety and the depression that comes with it. So my goal at the time was basically just to end my suffering. I knew something was off. I just didn't understand exactly what was going on. So I tried the conventional route initially. I remember saying to my family doctor, he has since passed. Hi, Michelle. He pegged it as anxiety. And I said, Doc, I have more courage in my pinky than all my friends combined. I don't understand this, because I never let the anxiety stop me from doing anything. I was incredibly sensitive to my energy and the energy of those around me, because it was a vast difference to the stillness. So as far back as I can remember, even as a child working in my dad's hardware store, my mind was always silent, but I was never fully aware of the stillness. So when I started school in hygiene, I remember just taking on a lot of sort of negative energy and sort of being bombarded with it. So
Hmm.
that set the pace for a repeating cycle of suffering. And what would happen is I can't put it into words how profound and intense the heat and pressure was in my third eye, because the ego on a daily basis would try to overtake me, and I would just really try to just remain still, but I had this constant energy attack. So years went on and I suffered in silence. As I was finishing my studies, my one and only older brother, Steve, was diagnosed with cancer, and he fought that for about a year and a half, and he passed away. And that had a
I'm so sorry.
massive, thank you. That had a massive impact, and that really had me begin to really ask questions like why things happen. Because he never smoked, he never drank.
Yeah.
A couple of years went by. Married my high school sweetheart, only to see that marriage crumble after just under 2 years. So now the universe source was really getting my attention, and in the following year, I was given a cancer diagnosis. Now,
Oh,
you would think that was enough heat and pressure to spark a shift. No, it was the fall of 2005. I had an experience with a night terror, and I was awakened by a very negative energy sort of hovering above me. So I
oh,
awoke, it was around 3 a.m. I wasn't afraid. I was actually shocked because as I looked at my bed
yeah.
sheets, I saw the sheets being pulled off me, and I was sort of
Oh,
stunned that something I can't see could do that, could manipulate matter. So I got up, told it to take a hike, went downstairs, said a few prayers because I had to go to the office the next day, work in the dental office. So next morning I get up, it's still at the threshold of my bed, and I could feel this negative energy. It's almost like growling. So I blow past it and I said, take a hike. And I'll describe that as my lowest low. I called out, I cried out, I said, you got a choice, show me another way or take me out,
mm,
because I've had my fill. So I'd
yeah.
been staring at a book by Dr. Daniel Amen, of all names, Change Your Brain, Change Your Life. And I finally picked it up, and I didn't get past page 60 or 62. And there was a phrase that went along the lines, when you allow negative thoughts to go unchallenged. Well, that struck me. So on this particular day, November 7th, 2005, had a patient cancel. And I did what I normally do, jump in my car, drive a few blocks, and just try to relax and decompress. On this particular day, the book was on the passenger seat. And as I began to reflect on that phrase, audibly through my chest, not a male, not a female voice said, challenge your thoughts. And in that instant, the third eye activated, shutting down automatically the negativity that I had been enduring for so long.
Mm,
I remember turning my head and experiencing profound clarity. I looked at a building and stillness. What that was stillness was coming at the forefront to my consciousness. So I still had a patient to get back to. So I get back to the office and I still have this activated force that is shutting down. The vibration was actually so intense. It was before the thought even had a time to sort of become an emotion, it was shutting it
mm.
down. Finish the patient. I'm driving home. The weather's now raining really hard, feeling emotionally spent by the time I get home. It was about a 30-minute drive. I jump on the couch and I say, just let me die. And I popped out. And what I mean when I popped out, my life force, my energy left. And when I came back, I was light as a feather, and I knew it exactly what had happened. And within a few days, about a week, I began to experience automatic writing. And within a
Wow.
month, I held my first lecture. And over about a 7 or 10 day period, I wrote my first book, Challenge Your Thoughts. So that is in a nutshell. And I went on to have mystical events during that time, but that's in essence what led me here today.
Amazing. And we're going to dig into that, but I want to say hello. Hello, Heidi. So much love to you, dear star sister.
Hi, Carolyn.
Um,
Hi, Heidi.
yeah, it's mind-blowing when the universe calls to you to wake up and the things that take place. Now, how long ago was this, Julio?
So this shift in consciousness took place in 2005, November 7th.
Oh, so it was quite some time ago.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow. Would you call that a Kundalini awakening, do you think?
That's exactly what it was. And I've had other experiences where I've been given insight, but that was just a surge of energy that came up. And the vibrational the vibration that was going off in my forehead, even now, if I just simply put my attention to the third eye, it'll sort of begin to flutter. But essentially what has happened is the stillness I was experiencing as a child, although I was fully not really aware of it, is now constant. So you're
Mm,
in that state. You can call it sort of moment by moment living. So you experience a breath, you let it go, there's an ego death, and then you're reborn again. That's actually
right.
the trick to mastery, or even the secret to youthfulness.
Yeah. I just want to say, Heidi, stay safe driving. I know it's very peoply out there. It's too peoply sometimes. Stay safe, and we'll talk to you soon because she always has some great questions, as the rest of the folks that pop in the chat. Um, okay, so how many books have you? Well, before I ask you that,
Sure.
as you were talking, as empath to empath, and I think you were just born an empath. Am I reaching here, or do you agree with that?
I agree. I was incredibly sensitive, like I said, to my energies and the energies around me.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
'Cause we're so super sensitive to everything and everybody's emotions and vibrations, and, you kinda have to learn how to not so much put walls up, but boundaries, like, you have to learn boundaries and stuff, but so, do you think it was the passing of your brother, though, that sparked this in you, or would you call that, like, the divine moment in your life that sparked it? Like, what do you think there was a particular moment, or did you feel this coming like your whole life?
That's probably one of the major catalysts, because
Mm,
it not only did it sort of have me question, like, what is the purpose to all this? So I started to really ask the big questions. It actually had me create a subconscious fear of death, and there was perfection in that, because what happened is I eventually called upon my own ego death, and without that I would not have been able to have this experience and sort of transcend. So it was a major catalyst.
yeah. It's interesting when I have the blessed opportunity to talk to so many people, and when you talk about ego death, it's almost sad to me, and maybe you could help clarify that before we move in. Um, because we're humans on this planet, but we're spiritual beings just living, in this body, right? Essentially
Yeah.
experiencing this life. And I think we were given an ego for a reason, for many reasons, actually. And I think that it's a beautiful thing to be able to control it, but to kill it, like, or is that just like a euphemism that you're using? Like, explain that to me.
This is a great question, and I really love this topic because I want to bring clarity. So the ego is first thing I'll say is there's nothing wrong with the ego, and
Mm,
it's necessary for this human experience. Without it, we couldn't experience the limitations of being human.
mhm.
The only issues that arise is when it goes unchecked. And for many people that come to me, they're stuck. And when they're stuck, they're bouncing between the past and future. So they tell me that they feel like they're not getting anywhere, they're not moving forward. And it creates a lot of suffering for a lot of people. So,
Yeah.
what it does is eventually it can become the catalyst for an awakening. And what happens there is, you can do it one of two ways. If the suffering is so intense, you experience a spontaneous awakening if one has that white hot desire and surrenders. But then there's the practice of ego death, and all that is instead of completely identifying with thought or reacting to fear, you become an observer. So
Mm,
as you become an observer, you're now creating some space between you and the thinking mind. So that actually offers tremendous relief. And by doing that, you sort of put it in its right place. So it's actually an integration. So it's not like you lose it completely.
mm.
It's no longer controlling your consciousness. Now you're able to manifest your life consciously. You're more empowered. But the gift that comes with it is that you're still able to experience it. Only now it's no longer the dominating consciousness. It's still
Right,
stillness. The true self has come forward.
right. I apologize. My little pooch Oliver, he
Oh,
loves
that's
to bark.
okay. That's okay.
So you'll hear him from time to time. He's my little
That's great.
sidekick.
Oh, that's great.
Thank you. Hi,
Yeah.
Mort. Oh my goodness. Thank you for coming. It's always a blessing.
Hi there.
Yeah, I love what you just said, and it really resonates deeply because I think every point of that is spot on. You know, you can't kill the ego per se, but when you're living between the past and the future and not in this now moment, like that's where the problem really begins. Because I think like, and it took me many, many years to learn that too. That, and I think it started when I read Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now. Like that was transformative. That book, it was crazy. How you know you really are only given this now moment, and that's where the ego fights with us, right? When you say they want us living in the past or in the future and worrying about crap that never really happens half the time, right?
It's so true. So the ego, tigers, I say this often, tigers can only give birth to tigers. Fear can only project fear. So if we
Yeah.
have to get to the heart of the matter, the ego is fear in essence. It's separation. So that's the veil, if you say, from one perspective. You know, when they say the lifting of the veil, it's that inner veil of ego. And then that's what then reveals the spiritual world surrounding us. So it reveals when you go beyond it, you know, when you're deeply anchored in the present, you come into that awareness of stillness within, and then it's seen, it then extends without, you just see oneness. Even though you're seeing, for example, furniture in a room, you're seeing people, you're so anchored and still that you're able to just navigate the world, and you have a deep understanding of the hidden mechanics as well because of that.
Mm, yeah. You had said earlier that you always experienced this like mind stillness or quietude. What is that like? Because like when I meditate, I sometimes get there, but and I've talked to people that say it's not so important to quiet the mind, but more to focus on the breath when you're meditating. So, like, the mind's going to be the squirrel brain, it's going to do what it does. So, rather than try to quiet it, it's best to focus on the breath of life and just to do that. But what was that like for you, especially so young, to have the stillness of thought, right?
That's a great question. That to be honest, I always had this inner knowing that everyone operates like this, but then I realized later on not everyone does. But that
Hmm.
inner being that was always at the forefront, that's within all of us. So I love that point you made where you don't try to quiet the mind, and you're so right. By following your breaths, that's a great way to slow things down. There's already an enlightened being within each and every one of us, the soul,
Yeah.
whether we call it the inner being, and it's eternally silent. And that's what we just want to remember, reconnect to. So you don't sort of try, it's more like surrender, let things go. The more we let things go, you can call those even ego deaths, you know, when you let anger go, when you forgive someone. So yeah,
Yes.
the breath work is a wonderful tool, to remind you of the present moment and really slow things down.
Yeah. So, your childhood, did you experience anything like what we would call of high strangeness or paranormal? I mean, I know you had that one event which would have freaked me out, somebody pulling the sheets. And I mean, I know I've heard so many stories of like these entities that weigh themselves on you at night and 3 o'clock too, which is like the witching hour, right?
Yeah,
Like that was weird that it always
yeah,
seems to be like at 3 or after 3 a.m.
yeah.
Um, so, did you ever experience anything paranormal as a child or growing up? Like, what was that like for you?
I've had a few incidents. We had stores growing up, so I remember the one building we had on Barton Street, very, I think it was 90 or 100 years old. I remember being 5 or 6, looking at the bottom of the stairs. I was going to use the restroom, and I saw a being. He was darker than the surrounding darkness of the basement, and I was
Oh,
actually fearless. I sort of let out an expletive, charged down towards the basement, and it
mm,
sort of hightailed it. But fast forward into my shift, I have that deep understanding now of what these shadow beings are, these shadow people. But I've had, like, as my brother was passing away, I had a mystical event with Holy Mary about a week before he died as well. So I've had intermittent things, or even visions when the
yeah.
energy was very, very, when I really had this white hot desire to know something.
Mm.
those would be spontaneous, but I never tried looking for something. It just sort of would be spontaneous.
This episode that you had with the Blessed Mary, what was that like, if you could tell us?
Absolutely. So that was quite profound. So in the weeks just before my brother passed away, I was going there pretty much every day after work. I'd leave the dental office and I would get off the elevator, turn right, and his room was straight ahead. But before I reached that room, to the right there was about 60-foot corridor, and it led to a very bland green greeting room. On this day, I got off, glanced right, and I saw a statue of Mary. The room was pale blue. There were roses on the wall, and I just thought, that's beautiful. Went into the room. One of my sisters was there, and I said, that's beautiful. They turned the greeting room into a chapel. She looked at me. She goes, what the hell are you talking about? We went back out there, and that vision was gone. And that vision was gone. The other thing I should mention is, so the woman that he married, she wasn't very spiritual or really faith-based, and there's nothing wrong with that. But near the end, she was helping him to eat, so she was feeding him, and his eyes darted to the corner of the room, and then she followed his eyes and saw a vision of Mary. So it was quite profound. I've now realized she's one of my main guides. She's been there. Sometimes more subtly, and sometimes very like, look out what's ahead. So
Yeah. It's so interesting because every now and then I get prompted to like talk to her and pray to her. And it just like can come out of nowhere sometimes too. So I think that's such a special thing that happened to you. Wow. I love that.
I think those nudges, or those spontaneous nudges to sort of engage, that they happen for a reason. It's more than synchronistic. We are divinely guided. We are unconditionally loved and supported. So just becoming aware of that opens the door to experience. I always say often, awareness is everything.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
Do you have spirit guides or any family members that you feel, or well, aside from your brother, who I'm sure is with you always, that helped you write your books or inspired you to write them? Like, what was that like?
I know my grandmother on my dad's side is she's always a rock in my life, and we were very close. So she's more of like a support. I have there have been times where I have felt her and my grandfather's presence, and it's quite palpable. In terms of the writing, that just comes through the dimension of inner stillness. So that
Mm,
just comes through that oneness where I just put my attention on there. When you're surrendered, the downloads I'll describe sort of come like pancakes. If I put my attention on a certain topic, you get this sort of inner knowing, and then you just allow the writing to take place.
mm. Yeah, because it's really a magical, like everybody will say things like, "Oh, everybody has a book," but that is so not true. Like, I think it takes a lot to really write a book that's so meaningful. So I want to dig into so many things with you, but I definitely want to cover a lot of what you talk about in your book. And I love your charts and graphs and your affirmations. I mean, it's really loaded with like I was taking copious notes as I'm reading it, and I love how you talk about the roadblocks to getting unstuck, because I think now a lot of us feel, and especially since 2020, we went through such a riveting time of suffering for every human
Yeah.
on the planet. And since I've been on the planet, I don't ever remember having to live through something like that. And like when I went to school, the Cold War era happened. And I remember, like the nuns would tell us, hide under the desk. And even that wasn't nearly as
Mhm.
traumatic as what we just experienced. So there's a lot of us that are traumatized by that.
Yeah.
So, how do you get unstuck from all this mess?
That's a great question. When this was all unfolding, I was reminded to just remain centered, and we're sort of coming to the end of a cycle. So if we have some understanding, humanity is going through a collective shift in consciousness, and we never
Mm,
change unless there's some uncomfortableness or some pain and or suffering. So it does serve its purpose. It's not meant to have us perpetually experience this. But with all that chaos and the unfolding that has taken place, it's a reminder, number one, to go back within to your inner being, to be centered. So there's two ways essentially to operate from. As human beings, we've been conditioned to operate from the outside in. But what
Mhm.
happens is we allow the outer world to be repeated in our minds. So when we hear, let's say, a fearful narrative, and we
Mm.
believe that and we repeat it, there you go. There's sort of that accumulation of negative energy. And allowed to go unchecked, it can become quite painful on an energetic level, emotionally. So the shift that I talk about is becoming an observer of the outside world. So now it's from the inside out instead of operating from the outside in. What that does is it allows you to be centered and create some space. And
Yeah.
this is important to mention, because when we're observing negative thought and emotion rather than identifying with it, you're not up suppressing anything. Because if you understand what it is relative to you, a negative thought or emotion, it's just energy. And if you understand that your inner being, which is unconditional love, is more than powerful enough to transmute any negative emotion, regardless of how dark it is, then you have this understanding that you're not sort of keeping anything in. You're sort of giving it a place to die, a die in your consciousness, to let it go. So observing, that is the key to getting unstuck rather than reacting to the outside world.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
That is, there's so much truth and power in that statement. And it's so interesting because the word observer has plagued me for decades. And I'll quickly tell you
Mm.
why. When I was about 15, I was reading Cosmic Consciousness by Buck on my front porch. And I was always drawn to these esoteric topics and spirituality. It was just a part of who I was from as far back as I could remember. And all of a sudden, I read this one paragraph and I had this amazing download. And I felt like my spirit left my body for seconds.
Mm.
And I was able to observe things differently. And that one word, be the observer, was like the message that I got from that. And that's really a transformative thing because if you sit back and just observe rather than participate, it's a game changer. Am I right?
Absolutely. And there's ramifications to doing that. When you're aligning with the silent witness, you're becoming more mind, body, whole. So you're becoming more centered in your soul. You're
Mhm.
also activating and aligning with the third eye, because the third eye, the potential of that chakra, I can't even almost begin to put it into words. It's a game changer. So living from the, like I said, from the inside out, and sort of opening up to becoming an observer of thought. And you're not just becoming an observer, you're observing, and then you're also setting your attention and intention on what it is you actually want to see in your outside world. So by neutralizing the fear, that's one of the key ingredients to
Yeah.
manifesting. You have to be able to neutralize it.
Wow. And speaking of the third eye, I have to ask you, and I've asked other authors the same thing, and it seems to be such a roadblock for humans. But our water is so toxified, and it's loaded with fluorides and things, and we all know what fluoride does to the pineal gland, and that's essential, right, in opening our third eye. What do you do about that, or have you done about that? Like, do you do any specific work to uncrustify it, I guess, or unblock it?
That's a great question. And I've been asked this before. What I'll say is the power and the force that is the third eye, when activated, there is nothing, and no sort of physical ailment or anything that can really stop it. I used to give
Oh,
myself fluoride treatments when I was a dental hygienist.
oh,
I'd, I'd,
yeah,
I'd give myself the occasional boost, let's say every 6 months. So
yes.
I was doing that um, you know, up until about my shift in consciousness. But with intention, and with the potential of the soul, there's really, it transcends, let's say, any sort
Oh,
of
that's good to
limitation.
know.
So it's important to know that.
Yeah, that's good to know. We have a question for you here. from divine manifestation. Julio, how can one sit back and observe during moments of extreme fear, for example, feeling like you're in physical danger? That's such an excellent question because we all
Yeah.
experience that.
So that's a great question. So that so an actual real life event, you don't want to. It's not that you want to be afraid, but you want to take action that's necessary. So you don't want to operate or make a decision out of fear. Uh, that takes some cultivation. That takes some cultivation. But so during the moments of unless there's a difference between you're actually in physical danger. So let's say you're being chased by a tiger. Obviously,
Mm,
you don't want to be eaten by a tiger. But there's
mm.
also there's a difference between that and a perceived danger when the emotion feels very heavy. But again, it's the ego projecting and creating that fear. And so even with that, you want to become that's your signal to awaken and reawaken. So fear can be source of suffering, or it can be a reminder to awaken. Awakening is not just a one-time event. It's a moment by moment process. That was an
Oh,
excellent
yes.
question. Yeah,
Gosh, that's so true. Awakening, I mean, even if you have an epiphany, a wonderful experience, that moment is wonderful and it's a blessing, but it doesn't mean you stop there, right? So like you
absolutely.
need to work at this every day, every moment of your life, right, Julio?
Absolutely. It becomes a moment by moment process. It's mindfulness and even the enlightened state.
Mm,
You're embodying who you truly are. So you're operating through. You realize this is the key that I really want to emphasize. If we
mhm.
realize how reality and timeline shifting, our thoughts, words, and you're welcome, and vibrational frequency is, then we would recognize how important it is to remain, for example, in the present moment, observe negative thinking, challenge negative thinking, set intentions. Because if you realize that really ultimately the word desire means from the Father. So what one desires for their life, it's what source desires for you. So it's aligning of wills as well. When you do that, it's incredibly powerful. When you realize that what you want for your life, that's what source wants. Everything is a mirror, essentially.
You stated in your book that reaction is a form of self attack. Explain that to us, please.
Absolutely. So, for example, let's say someone cuts you off and you become enraged and
Mm,
you start swearing and cursing. Next thing you know, maybe you're like following them. So there's a major reaction. What happens is when we project that anger, it's immediately returned to us. It's now hijacked our consciousness. So
yes.
so we may think that we're hurting someone else when we're really who's the one experiencing it. Or let's say, for example, someone broke your trust many years ago and you still harbor that anger.
Yes.
That person more than likely has completely forgotten about it. But we're
Yeah.
still paying for it because we think that we're somehow making
Exactly.
them pay for it. But it's only the ego tricking us, convincing us. But we're the one holding onto the emotion. So
Yeah,
that is
because
that
they're
self attack.
exactly. That is so brilliant because they're living their lives and not thinking about you twice. And
Exactly.
you're reliving and reacting that painful period daily. So they win all the time, right?
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah, I love
So
that.
if we realize, if you operate from this awareness that we're all one, and I often give this example. Let's say you're hammering in a nail and you miss
Mm,
the nail and you hit you hit your thumb and you
mm.
start cursing the hammer. Well, who you're immediately experiencing that anger because you and that hammer are one. There's no getting out of it. You're one with the tree, the rock, the ex-girlfriend, the
Yeah.
ex-boyfriend,
Yep.
whoever it is. So you realize that reaction, there's great futility in it. And then you also realize that even if it does happen, we're in a time-space reality. So you do have time to forgive, to release, and to change your mind again. A lot of us get, especially with panicky thoughts, people who experience anxiety, they think, oh my God, that's gonna happen, but we have time. We have time to change our minds. So we often say, I think it's like 90 or 95% of things we worry about never really
Yes.
come to pass. And then it's true.
Exactly.
And if you recognize you have time to change your mind, to choose another thought, a more empowering thought,
Mhm.
then you're not caught up in the projection or fear or the uncertainty of the unknown of the future.
Gosh, that's so brilliant. Do you think we live in a multi-dimensional universe where nothing in our lives is written in stone and that it's up to us to drive the future that we want by the power of our thoughts and our words and grounding ourselves? Or do you think that everybody's future is just written in stone and there's not much you could do about it?
I love this question. We live in a multi-dimensional reality.
Mm.
Um, let's say from one point of view, we all have a sole purpose to remember who we are, awaken, burn up the ego in that sense, like transcend it, and get on with our lives and create the lives we want consciously. But I've had way too many experiences that demonstrate not only are we in a multidimensional reality, we're sharing this reality with other beings. And that's been demonstrated to me over and over again when I have, for example, objects that appear to be thousands of feet away from me respond by powering up. So there is no distance in the unified field.
You know, Julia, we're going to talk about that. I've seen some of your shorts, mind blowing stuff. But I just want to comment on this. Heidi said, I have told my kids since forever to forgive for the peace within. And I was just thinking everything is
Yeah.
connected and we are all one. And yes, stress and worry change nothing to be in the present. That's another reason why I love this network is because we get to meet and connect with so many other light workers, and it's interesting how you find your tribe. You just always find the universe just always guides you to your tribe. And I'm sure that everybody in your tribe is pretty much the same, right?
Pretty much,
Yeah.
family, like close family, especially, but the people that are in my circle, yeah, even my neighbors, they've made massive shifts. Let's say since I've moved here a couple of
Yeah.
years ago. Yeah,
Good. That's good that they
yeah,
can because
yeah,
like years ago, we could never have this conversation without people thinking we needed a straitjacket or something,
yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So I'm very grateful that we've come such a long way in our spiritual evolutionary process that most people are very open to these types of things happening. I want to get into the whole chakra thing, and I love in your book I have the chart here, and if I think I'm gonna share it. Do you mind if I do?
Oh, please go ahead.
Okay, let me window. Okay, share. There we go. So let me see if I can make that a little bit bigger. I think that's pretty good, right?
Yeah,
Well, oh no.
yeah.
Can you guys see that? So in his book, and this is great for like the beginners, like that don't really know too much about chakras and where they are and what they mean. And your book goes through them so beautifully.
Oh,
So we
thank you.
have our crown. You explain. Could you explain this to folks? And for folks that are listening, please head on over to at least one of our social media channels and try to watch this or purchase, of course, Giulio's book, which you could get at giulioconsiglio.com. It's running across the screen. And we'll spell that out for you guys that are listening too, so that you can make sure you head on over there. But go ahead, Giulio.
Thank you. So we are a mind, body, soul, and what marries the soul to the physical body is an intermediary, and it's the subtle body. And within the subtle body, it's quasi energy, quasi material. Within it are these energy wheels, the chakras, and what they do is they draw in universal energy. And we have the at the bottom there the root chakra, and then moving upwards we have the the chakra that's responsible for our playfulness and responsible for um, flow. And moving up from there, we have the solar plexus chakra, and that is responsible for self empowerment, for transformation. And then moving up there, you have the heart chakra, center of the chest. And that is responsible for extending forgiveness, charitable love. And then moving up from there, you have the throat chakra. The throat chakra allows for self expression, it allows for you to express yourself authentically. And then moving up from there, you have the third eye chakra that's located in the forehead. And that is the, I'll call it the master control center. It's the seat of clarity, wisdom. It's the doorway to your highest self. And then just above that, the crown chakra. And the crown chakra allows you to experience oneness. And these are always operating. These are always drawing in, depending on our level of awareness and our vibrational frequency, what state we're in. So if we're in a sort of a reactive state or a more flow state, they draw in universal energy and light and information. Light is information. So depending on where we're at in our lives, but they're always operating at some level. And I had mentioned to you earlier, so the root chakra, so just below the sacral chakra there, being anchored in that as a foundation, being anchored in the present moment, that sets the stage for you to sort of anchor yourself, begin to work and dissolve fear, and then allow those other ones to come online more fully.
Wonderful. And what if you resonate with one more than other? Like Heidi here says, she always comes back to the heart. What does that typically mean when you feel like you can resonate more with one in particular?
What that basically means is just simply you've aligned yourself more. For example, let's say you're a very forgiving person, or you're a person that just really, let's say, goes with the flow. So you're in
Mm,
tune more with the sacral chakra. We're all, from one point of view, like I said, we're all these spiritual beings operating through stillness. But then this is also a world of relativity. So everyone's operating at a different level of awareness and also a different sort of energy frequency. And that's what you had mentioned. So some people could be more root chakra oriented or more oriented with the upper chakras. So this is, like I said, a world of relativity, and that's why.
mm. Yeah, I really like how you, and it really is like a beginner's guide to understanding
Yeah.
deeply about your chakras and how to tap into them, right? You call them like portals, am I right?
They are portals, and I'll give a perfect example. For example, just
Mhm.
being very sort of anchored in stillness. When I experience, let's say, the occasional automatic negative thought, I see that in my mind's eye, and I see that as a doorway to a reality or a timeline. I don't
Mhm.
choose to go down. So when you're operating and working with the chakras, they are portals, they are potentials, and forgiveness, letting things go, speaking authentically, your throat chakra, going with the flow, being in tune with the sacral chakra, those are doorways to that could lead you to your highest timeline.
Mm. And I know forgiveness is a tough one for everyone. And Heidi stated here with some uncomfortable feels, and she's right. She takes these emotions to heart to forgive and
Yeah.
have unconditional love. That is a profound statement, too. It's so difficult to forgive. What do we do when we want to hold on to that angst and that anger and that bitterness? And we said earlier, we're the ones suffering for that. They're
Yeah.
not, we are. What advice do you have about forgiveness?
This is such a great question. Number one is we can't force ourselves to forgive. You sort of have to be
Mm,
ready. You can't lie or fake to the universe. Source
right.
knows every hair counted on your head. So
Yeah.
um, uh, one has to be ready, and
Yeah.
one has to recognize the transformative and healing power of forgiveness. I can say forgiveness, and you can look at it as just a word, but if someone has had their fill, let's say, of anger, resentment, they can choose to, and you don't even have to, call the person and do it. You can do it from within and say, I forgive, release myself, and I release so and so for this
Mm,
trespass. I'm letting it go. Now, here's the thing, and this is very important to mention.
mm,
Because, let's say, for example, we've held on to anger and resentment for a long time, you create a lot of momentum. So,
mm,
that initial forgiveness can actually release you quite a bit of that negative energy. But what happens is you get some remnants, a little bit hanging on there. So
Yeah.
all that is a reminder to cultivate mindfulness. If it tries to raise its ugly head again, you observe it and you remind yourself, I've let this go. I've let this go.
Oh, I love that.
So
Yeah.
so that happens with almost any negative emotion, because what happens is, you, whether it's positive or negative, you create a momentum, and the more momentum behind it, sometimes you need a little bit to sort of let it go. It can get to a point though where you have truly forgiven, let's say, those who have trespassed, and you get to the point where you want to let everything go and you forgive the world and you release and you literally express that anger and anything else that tries to arise literally becomes a whisper. It's lost
Mm.
so much power because you've reclaimed your vital energy and starved the negativity, starved the ego of your vital energy.
Oh, I love that. That is so powerful and true. Um, Goodness. Sorry, that just resonated. Heidi wants to know this. Thoughts, please, on these are her words. My hands and feet will vibrate and get very warm until I have to notice. Is that energy needing to be released or some type of activation of these chakras?
That's a great question. If you're not in a, let's say, fearful state, you're just being in the moment, and you start vibrating, you're coming into soul alignment and you're tuning into the frequencies of new earth. So unless there's any fear going on, which usually it's more of a contracting energy anyways, that sounds like, and I've experienced that quite a bit. My last interview, for example, I did an interview with the UFO channel. For the first 15 minutes, I thought I was going to vibrate out of my chair. Um, so, and
Wow.
that's not an overstatement. So
Why do you
the
think
energy,
that was happening? Why do you think?
I was just so centered in the now. That's why integration. I talk about, yeah, okay, so transcend the ego, but there's this integration. You don't want to like levitate right out of the out of this reality. I still have
Yeah.
work. I still have spiritual work here to do. So,
Yeah, yeah,
um,
yeah.
yeah,
Absolutely friggin' lutely. So Heidi, I hope that helped you to understand a little bit more what that is. Because I know sometimes when we get these like esoteric feelings and things, we don't often understand them, and they can scare us when they're not meant to. They're meant to like open us up to different thought realities and process different thoughts and learn basically from them. It's not meant to be like a scary thing. Yes, she said that. Thank you. That resonates too.
you're
Brilliant,
welcome. You're
brilliant,
very
brilliant.
welcome.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's so true about forgiveness too. It's such a difficult thing to navigate, but you're so right. Like at some point you have to sit back and just kind of forgive the world. Like you really
Yeah,
do. You kind of have to bundle it all together and just go, whatever happened to me happened. I'm in this now moment and I'm blessed and grateful for that. And like that's what I do when I get nervous or anxiety. I always say this one mantra, constant. And I'll say it out loud because you know how powerful words are. Words are
yeah,
spelled. Like that's where spelling comes from, right?
yeah,
And
yeah.
I'll say, "Everything is fine in this now moment. Everything is fine in this now moment." And that really does ease. Like, do you find yourself using a particular mantra or key words that you use to ground yourself, or is it all just a mental state for you?
I love that you mentioned this. So it's a combination. You're anchored in a very high state through stillness, through the present moment. But I often use affirmations such as "all is well," "all is more than
Mm,
well." So by doing that, you're just expressing. So those are just sort of general terms, but you can get into more specifics and just sort of repeat. It's important, whatever it is you want to manifest in your life. It's important to come from a space of awareness that it's already accomplished, it's done. So you're actually operating through gratitude. It's
yeah.
gratitude that it's done, not that I hope, I wish. There's no uncertainty. It's from one point of view, you could say it's having the faith of source. You know it's done, and you let go
Mm.
of how. This is important. Desire is not the root of our suffering. It's the attachment to outcomes. So
Oh,
we often get caught in, I'm waiting for this to manifest. Well, that waiting energy will keep you waiting. It's a trap.
Yes.
And it seems so benign. Like I'm waiting, I'm waiting for this job, or I'm waiting for I'm waiting for the right person. That'll just keep you waiting. So it's important to become aware, come from a space of knowing. Belief is powerful, but knowing, really, really, conviction, speaking gently that it's done and letting go, very powerful.
You are the first person that talked about manifesting that way. And it resonates to my core
Mm,
because, like, especially when The Secret came out, we were all told back in the day, God, what was that, the 90s or something? It
yeah,
was like way back
2000s.
somewhere up there. Yeah. We were all told, oh, you have to manifest things this way. And everybody thought, you could just want something hard enough and think about it long enough and write it down on paper
Yeah,
but literally that was blocking you from
yeah.
achieving. And you are brilliant to say that all that does is keep you stuck and keep everything away from you.
Thank you so much for mentioning that. I would add one more thing is we get so all of these manifestation books and people talking about manifestation have, missing the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
It's the elephant in the room is come to know yourself first through inner
Mm,
stillness. And then it's that Bible verse. Find the kingdom within, and then all else will be added to you. What that means is come to know who you are spiritually, be fulfilled here and now,
mm.
and then from that space, when you're empty inside, you're actually fulfilled because you're now filled with unconditional love, gratitude, awareness, clarity. You're now in tune with your discernment. Those are actually the things we're truly after. When you come into those faculties, everything else is just icing on the cake, whether it's the house, the car. And there's nothing
Yeah.
wrong with that. We're in a world of relativity. You're here to experience. But if you come from
Mhm.
that space first, everything else smooth comes a lot more with less resistance, less effort, and more, efficient.
Gosh, that's so true. I think you need to be like a guru. I do. I need to get you like a white robe or something, some beads around. We need to call you a guru. That's it.
Thank you.
So yeah, divine manifestation. I think what's causing that, because I've had that happen occasionally as you're talking, some of your monitor
Yeah.
blinks lights. But I mean, I would like to think it's something esoteric, but I really think it's just your monitor settings. Sometimes or your webcam could even cause lights to flash like that.
We'll just leave it at that, but
Yeah.
I seem to affect things sometimes.
Well, that could be that too. I mean,
Yeah,
I always, I'm always
we'll
like,
say
I'm
it's
a
the
tech,
monitor.
right. I'm a techie first. Like I always think
Yeah,
about when something's wrong, I try to like do step by step
yeah,
analysis. But you're right. It could be how you're, affecting the tech around you as well.
it's
It could
possible, but
absolutely be that.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I want to continue talking about your book. We have plenty of time. What time is it? Okay, so yeah, we're good. Are you
Yeah.
okay on time? You're not in
Oh,
any major.
absolutely. No,
Okay, brilliant. Because
we're
we
great.
have a lot to go on. What about the health aspects of doing all this? Because unfortunately, and we're going to be careful treading our words here,
Mhm,
but not anybody here, I'm sure, but many people on the planet made an unfortunate decision back 5 years ago
mhm.
and regret it. Let's
Yeah,
just put it that way.
yeah,
And I think most folks know what I'm talking about.
yeah.
And for those of us that didn't, thank the Lord, blessings for that.
Mhm.
Um, but for those folks that did, I think are quite anxious and feel like they made a bad decision and they're trapped in this bad situation. How can they use your book to regain their health and wellness? Like, what can you do? What advice does your book give them for that?
Great question. So the potential within us to heal, to maintain inner balance, health, to actually become stronger, all of those are potentials. And I have to say, people say, well, how is that possible? Every every version of us is there in the unseen. There's a
Mm,
version of us that is enlightened, a version of us that is strong, healthy, whole. All of those are potentials. So, what one made a decision, whether it was out of fear or whatever, if
mhm,
one decides to change course, one can begin to apply things like, first of all, if it's necessary, forgiveness, forgive oneself for
yeah,
doing that.
yeah, that's
Um,
a
and not entertaining the fear and the what ifs, because
big
you start going down rabbit holes. Next thing you know, you're terrified, and this is going to happen, or that could happen. So you have to go beyond that, and you have to, adversity and challenges, and even a health challenge, I've been through them. Those are potentials to quantum leap and to shift and to heal. So what I'll say is, the soul, your inner being, can accomplish anything, and there's nothing that I know that it cannot heal. So it's a potential. So practicing, for example, anchoring oneself in the present moment and being mindful of it moment by moment. You mean
mm,
you're going to slip up here and there, but if you can become aware that the present moment is all there ever is, that's a massive thing to raise your vibrational frequency, become more spirit than
yes.
body. This is what happens when I made that shift. I remember saying to my brother-in-law, I feel light as a feather, like a rag doll, because
Oh,
you're
wow.
vibrating so high, you're transcendent of the body. And so what is left, so when you're meditating, for example, another thing that one can do is learn how to practice and what it means to meditate on stillness, becoming
Mm,
aware of the silence. Because in stillness, in my one of my other books, I describe it as the healing frequency, and it is, because when there's no thought, when you're transcendent, you now allow divine wisdom, intelligence, the subtle body, to bring you back to wholeness. And it could be a month from now, could be 3 months from now,
mm,
depending on one's level of resistance, and just sort of living also from, let's say, a mind body approach. So,
mhm,
for example, a couple of years ago, I got the sort of nudge to start fasting, and I love fasting, and I integrate it. And it's just one of these sort of practices that I do. So it's getting in tune with who you are, but present moment awareness, cultivating faith and trust,
mm,
setting intentions. I am healed. I am already whole and complete. I'm
mm,
letting go. I forgive and release myself.
I
So
love that.
those are very timeline shifting things, and it has
Yeah.
to be cultivated daily. So it's not like you do it once. You have to.
No, right.
What I'm talking about is embodiment.
Yes, you have to truly embody
Yeah,
that thought and become it.
yeah.
And I wanna say hi to Benno. Hello, dear friend. He's funny too. You'll see some funny things like
Mm.
he asked here, "Is Giulio mafioso? Because your last name." I'm sure you get that.
I
I'm
have
sure you get
I have friends, but
that.
I actually studied in the martial arts for years too. I love martial arts.
Oh, me too. I did as well. I studied Ishinru up until, like, my 20s, and, it was great. It was definitely life-altering experience.
Nice. I studied Waterloo. My brother was Goju, and he actually taught me how to
Oh,
break bricks at 16. So that was a nice
oh, wow.
teaching and focus. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That's incredible.
Yeah.
He said, "Bad joke, coolness." Yeah, I haven't
Thank
met
you.
anybody with that last name, so it's Italian, obviously. I'm
The
Italian.
I can't make this up, but the interesting thing is my name means to give counsel.
Oh, jeez.
Like
Oh, yeah, The
consigliere. Yeah.
Godfather. Yeah, The
Yeah.
Godfather, that he had a
Yeah.
consigliere,
Yeah,
right,
exactly. So it
right.
means to give counsel. It's
Oh,
yeah,
that's
good.
hysterical. See, you were
Yeah.
destined. I told you. You
Apparently.
guru, guru. So I love what you said about health. I think that's
Mm,
brilliant. And I love that your book can guide folks there
mm,
because there are a lot of folks that are unfortunately, and I've met quite a few and talked to quite a few that have such big regrets and they're trying
mm.
vitamin therapies and all different things. But I think you're so right that it's a within thing and it's a
It's a big
daily.
one.
Yeah, it's a
It's a
big one
big
for
one.
sure.
Diet is important and things like that, but the main component is, am I operating through fear, or am I cultivating a spirit of gratitude and fearlessness? Makes a heck of a difference. Yeah.
Yeah, it really does. Well, we have a question from Benno. He said, I could easily become a monk, serene and peaceful, but I have a family that makes so much noise in caps and quotes. What can he do to
That,
kind of like find peace within all that noise?
that's a great question. You can come to a point where you sort of make every moment a meditation, and you could be in a football field surrounded by thousands of people, and your mind is silent. So, so you can use the outer world just as something that you observe, rather than sort of really mesh your energy with. I often have people come to me and they say, "I hate crowds," and I understand this because a lot of people are empathic, and we're all one. So energies are always bouncing around. When you have
Yeah.
an understanding of this and you're grounded and present, moment aware, you sort of, stillness creates almost like a fortress around you in that sense. So fear, negativity, and things like that, they can't attach to you. You know that word sort of anointed? That literally
Mm,
means you become like oil, nothing sticks. So you can be centered, you could be in the middle of a party surrounded by tons of people. You're welcome. And because you're so centered and aware, when the energies arise around you, you're observing again instead of becoming them and reacting to them.
yeah, yeah. Wow, Benno, you had a dad who was a Hapkido
Ooh,
master.
very nice. That's amazing.
Wow. Yeah, that's a blessing for sure, for
Yeah.
sure. So, I'm trying to think what other things you talk about inner stillness a lot in your
Mm,
book. That thoughts are portals, and that is so very true. And of course, about the present moment, that's a big one. Having present moment awareness, shifting timelines is it's such a hot topic right now,
yeah.
especially because of the Mandela effect. And I've interviewed some authorities on that topic as well. Tell us how you feel about the Mandela. I have to ask you, what do you think is going on
Uh, uh,
with that?
I think when you just have a group of people agreeing on something, then that becomes their reality for them, for example. Just as, for example, any topic. You know, when you see things go viral, for example, you see things
Yes.
like a dance go viral on TikTok.
Oh,
That
yeah.
there, the consciousness, and there's nothing wrong with it, but what has happened is that idea, that thought, has literally hijacked hundreds, even hundreds of thousands of people. Next thing you know, you're seeing videos of a certain dance or whatever. So
Yeah.
if you're um, impressionable in that sense, next thing you know, you'll be doing a video on it. And again, there's nothing wrong with it. But when you are anchored and centered, and you don't allow the outer world to sort of dictate what is for you, you don't engage in that sense. You can observe it, appreciate it, but you don't become it. So there's a great difference with regards to, for example, like the timelines. We're always shifting timelines with every thought, emotion that we experience. The key is to be consistent on what it is you're choosing for your life. And I'm talking about in terms of your state of mind, your well-being, your relationships, your health, your career. So all the facets of one's life, what are you choosing? And if you realize that and you become consistent in what you're choosing, that's how you sort of shift into more of what it is you want to experience. And it's not to say that there won't be challenges or
Mm,
adversity, but you're able to navigate them in a more empowered way because you're operating through, for example, let's say non-attachment. I can't begin to say how powerful and life-changing and timeline shifting that is, to be non-attached, to be non-attached to outcomes, to be non-attached how someone treats you in that sense, for example, a stranger or something like that, because now you're not giving away your power through reaction. You're so centered and grounded, you understand the nature of reality, that the outer world is simply a mirror of your inner. That you
mm.
don't sweat the small stuff. Yeah.
I've been hearing a lot of folks who say, "Get me out of this timeline." Like,
Mm,
a lot of people are struggling with that.
yeah.
So the way to get out of the timeline is to not wanna get out of the timeline and just let the shift happen by your intention, correctly? Stated or
To we've convinced, so someone saying that has convinced themselves, they've created so much contracting energy, they've made their circumstance become a reality. And in my writings and in your highest vibration, I say
mm,
circumstances don't matter, because number one, circumstances are simply thoughts that we're projecting outwardly. So for example, if let's say you're living someplace and you really don't want to be there anymore, but you keep reacting to it, you become resentful, angry, and you start creating other branching thoughts. I'm stuck, I'm this, I'm that. Next thing you know, that has now become a circumstance, and you're like, I want to get out of here. Next thing you know, you're operating through a very desperate or fear filled energy.
Yeah.
The key of shifting out of whatever it is again, it's our perception of what we see in our minds. The outer world is just a mirror. It's just the past sort of expressed in a sense. And we are free to choose differently in every instant and every moment. You can make a shift. But it's understanding that as long as you're focused on the outside world and you're focused on what politicians or anyone else is doing, you're going to feel powerless, and you're going to feel like there's nothing really I can do. But if you understood
Exactly.
the power of oneness and the power of intention and your vibrational frequency, you would begin shifting and changing focus and focusing on the world you want to see. That's our key. That's what's going to usher in new earth. So
Yes.
we hear of new earth. In 2005, I awoke to new earth, and all that is the realization that the outer world is spiritual in nature. It's not concrete. It's malleable.
Oh gosh, I love that. Um, let's see what Benno said here. I think now it really happened. They did put out a video. He died. I don't know who you're talking about, Benno. So they think they could establish this debunking what you see. A great way to
Mm,
cover up truths they don't want you to know, a psyop.
mm,
Oh, if you could clarify who you're talking about, maybe somebody we were talking about.
mm.
But it's true, and it's funny when you detach yourself from this left right narrative,
Yeah,
from all this nonsense that's going on social media, and you just watch it, observe it, um, make whatever decision you need to make about it, and then just like let it pass through you. That's what I do now. I'm sick to death of this right left crap. All this it is a big, huge psyop that's intentionally
yeah,
thrusted upon us. So what can folks do? What recommendation do you have for us not to get stuck? Because we're all going to use social media. We're
yeah.
all going to get affected by this stuff. So how do we let this stuff just pass through us?
That's great, and I love how you actually mentioned, which is key, let things pass through you, so you're not holding on to things. When you realize that we've been divided intentionally, that's the key thing. Number one is we've been divided intentionally. It's more like human beings versus darker energies. If I
Yeah.
even say that, I don't even want to give that energy, but for relative sake, I have to sort of give us so the controllers, I'll say that were right now they're just scrambling to keep people distracted. Everything is
Mm,
a distraction. So
yeah.
when you realize who you are, you won't so quickly be pulled into the next sort of news reel or whatever. So it's detaching, observing the outer world, and again, remembering the importance of how important your vibrational frequency, your awareness, your intention is, and to not hang on to things. So when we let go of how we think people should behave, you save yourself so much grief and you transcend potential wake up calls. Because when you operate through non attachment, you're actually letting things go. And it's not to say you don't care anymore. It's you're actually focusing on that which you desire to experience. And if it's out of your control anyways, then
Mm.
why react to it? Because it
Gosh.
becomes, you see the futility in it.
Yeah, because sometimes I get triggered by things and I know
Hmm.
better. And like most of the time when something triggers me, I
Yeah,
just won't react. I'll count to 5. I'll do that
yeah,
5-second rule. But when things trigger us, there's definitely an emotional trauma, some type of trauma
yeah,
attached to that trigger,
yeah.
correct? Julio, what
That
do we do?
it's that, and it's what the big thing is a feeling of being powerless. I think that's a big one because we feel like we there really isn't. But there's a reason why our consciousness was hijacked thousands of years ago, and why humans, if you want to use the word, sort of fell in consciousness. number one, there's divine plan in that, so we can experience separation. But now we're coming to the end of that cycle. So
Mm,
when you recognize that you actually are a powerful being and you make shifts by vibrating and setting intentions. But the other thing is, when you set affirmations, for example, and you say things like, God or source is my fortress, God or
mm.
source is my shield, you shift, and you have to say it. It's nice to say things with belief. You want to come from a knowing with a conviction.
Brilliant.
So
That's
you want
so
to
good.
not repeat that outer world.
Mm, I love that. You mentioned fasting earlier, and that's
Mm,
interesting because I was raised a Catholic
yeah,
and I'm kind of like a reformed Catholic. I have my own beliefs
yeah,
about things. They've evolved and changed. I'm not stuck in that dogma, let's put it
mhm,
that way, of the Catholic Church anymore. But I, of course, do believe in Jesus Christ and Christ consciousness. And the reason I'm saying that is because the Bible has been transmuted so many times. There's so much information that's been
yeah.
left out of it. And the precursor to that is that I recently discovered in someone made a video the other day pointing out Matthew 21 is excluded from so many Bibles. It's in older Bibles, but it was again removed from a lot of the new Bibles that are out now. And why? Because in it, Jesus says the way to healing is through prayer and fasting. And I
Mm,
thought that was so interesting. Why would they exclude that out of the Bible? It's
that
just amazing to me that the
yeah.
prayer and fasting part. So why do you fast? Like, what does that do for you other than a cleansing of the body? What does it do for you spiritually?
That's a great question, and if I can, after, I love to touch upon a couple of nuggets from the Bible.
Yeah,
But
go right ahead.
fasting. I remember I was at actually a Chinese buffet with my sister and my nieces and nephew a couple of years back, 4 or 5, and I said, you know what? I'm getting the call to do a 3-day fast, and she looked at me
Mm,
like, we're Italian, you don't, and Brazilian. What are you talking about? So I said, no, I'm going to do it, and I said it's going to be the easiest thing I've ever done, and it was. So what it has done is it just aligns me even more. To say that stillness comes even more to the forefront, I can't put into words, but this is what happened. On the second night of the fast, I went to bed early around 9:30, and for several hours, I was bathed in unconditional love. And that was just the subtle body. When I say, when it ended around 2 a.m., I I could feel the attachment try to kick in and say, where are you going? Because I it was out of body. It was such a nurturing cocoon bathing. So now I do it simply because when the body sort of I heat it. It's all about balance. Everything's about pluses and minuses.
yeah,
So especially with the Western diet, it's important to, for example, like eat organic and whole foods when you can.
absolutely.
But the fasting, it actually kicks off autophagy, so your body eats itself. Very powerful in terms of healing as well. I don't want to say too much about it, but it's quite transformative. It becomes quite spiritual. I like integrating it in my practice.
Nice. Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, I would recommend anybody wanting to do that would check with their doctor, of course, check with your doctor
absolutely.
to make sure you could do that. Because Benno
Yeah.
also said it's great for it resets your immune,
Yes.
which, yeah, we all know it does. We all
Yeah.
know that it does that. So I wanna go ahead, your nuggets.
Oh, so there are some nuggets that I refer to often. For example, when the master says you'll be transformed in the twinkling of an eye, and what he's talking about is third eye activation.
Mhm.
And there's another phrase. I'm sort of paraphrasing, but it's very profound. That if people really understood what it meant, is you do not know how to examine the present moment. That's
Mm.
absolutely astounding to me, because the present moment is the key to essentially everything, to
So
reconnecting
what was that?
with
You
the
do
high.
not know how to what?
You
Say
do
that
not
again?
know. You do not know how to examine, or you could say the
Mm.
word contemplate, the present moment, because it is the doorway to new earth. It is the key to alignment with the highest self, to reconnecting, to operating from a mind, body, soul. It's like 90% of the work is really anchoring oneself and becoming aware of the present moment as you observe that past and future, the bouncing between, because that's all that it's like a cassette player. That's all the ego can offer us. And again, there's nothing wrong with it, but it is what it is, and it can only offer us what it is. So those two nuggets, really, yeah.
So we can't examine the present moment because we're in it, right? Oh, I
Uh,
just had a déjà vu. That was weird.
Uh,
That
so,
was
so what he's saying is you haven't examined, you don't know how to examine. You aren't aware of how transformative is what he's saying the present moment is. So the examination is simply becoming aware of that present
oh,
moment,
I see.
contemplating it, coming to your own. This is important. I always say, don't take what I take and take it automatically. Contemplate it, see if it resonates with you, and then decide. It's very important. We can't just sort of pretend this. But when you examine the present moment and you really look at the past and future and see what they are, truly are, their mind constructs,
Mhm.
because the past always unfolded in the now, and the future never arrives. It always unfolds in the now, but it's experienced as anticipation,
Yeah, yeah.
excitement, even, but often worry and anxiety.
Gosh, that's so true.
Yeah.
So I want to get into some of your ET experiences. I've watched, like I said, a lot of the videos that you made
Mm.
about the contact that you have with these orbs. So many questions. Should we go on your TikTok or something and show the folks what one of them look like? What do you think about that, or should we just talk about it? It's up to you.
We can show them the pinned video. That's the triangle, the black triangle. That's the main one that
Is that
interacts
on
with
your
me.
TikTok?
It's on my
Is
TikTok. It's pinned, and that was one of many close encounters.
all right? Let me go there.
Sure. And then I
Um,
can get into that. Yeah.
Okay, so it's pinned. Now on there, I don't oh, I see. You've got your book, 2 books, and then you have The
Yep.
Phenomena Began. Is that the one?
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Okay, let me pause that. Oh, amazing stuff. Let me
Yeah.
remove this one. Um, why is this one still here? All right, let me just start a new one.
Sure.
What is this? Sorry. Share
Oh
screen
no.
there. Okay. Share. All right, let me add that. Oh, good. It's already up. All right, we're gonna play this for you folks now.
Perfect.
Get ready.
These are the objects that I've been experiencing.
I just got goosebumps.
This is
I just got
incredible.
goosebumps, man.
This
Come here.
object seems to be triangle in another energetic form.
Right above the fucking roof there. That way. There it is, right there, right there, right there.
That's incredible.
Yeah, there it is.
We've experienced this before as like a
It's getting brighter.
sort of like rows of lights,
Probably.
and this is now in a linear form.
I have like fucking my hair.
Yeah,
Look at
wow.
it. Look at it. It's coming this way, man.
It's coming this way.
It's coming this way. That's coming.
It's coming this
towards
way.
us. There it is. There
That's
it is.
triangle in its energetic form, and
Oh my God. Look at it, man.
this is incredible.
This is cool. We've never seen it for this long in this direction.
No,
Wow.
yeah, that's incredible.
I thought it was like a cloud.
That's
So
that's pretty
it's
pretty
profound.
crazy.
And I can
Yeah.
offer some pretty profound insights because the technology is so advanced, it has had to break up what it can do in separate encounters so I could have a deep understanding, because these are way more than 3D craft. They transform.
Yeah, you can see the plasma. Benno said
Yeah, absolutely.
it's like a liquid. So tell us, like, what started this connection between you
Sure.
and T?
When I've just briefly, when I've channeled the phenomena, I've realized this triangle has been around me my entire life. It's just I became quite conscious of it in October 2020. So I always knew they existed. Did I necessarily think they'd show up in my backyard? No. But I'll give a breakdown of how it unfolded. I was finishing editing a book, and I finally started to hang out in the backyard with my two neighbors, Matt and James. On this particular evening, October 8th, 2020, it was about 6:40 p.m., 6:43, I notice a hula hoop shaped object coming out of the west, about 10 times the size of a hula hoop, no form of propulsion. I actually pulled out my camera. I recorded it, let out an expletive. My neighbors were freaking out, and I said, "What is that?"
Mm.
5 minutes later, I'm facing the northern sky, and I recorded this, and a pill-shaped object is coming at a very hard trajectory, like 45 degrees. And I go, "What is that?" Now, fast forward a few nights, it's very crisp, very clear. Our backyard is like it's open, so there's no fencing. And I'm back there with my two neighbors again. And I get the vibrational hit to move about 10 feet away from them. And I look straight up, and coming over the townhouse about 200 feet is a black, very 3D looking triangle. So I call the guys over, and Matt goes, "Is that a flock of geese?" And I just sort of invoked, I'm like, "Focus, guys, take a look." So we stood there for about 10 seconds, frozen, watching this silently move. I remember locking eyes on the gray pads. So that was October, and that took off. So
Mm.
I started hanging out there more and more, and sightings would begin. By the time January came, I went to go throw something in recycling. Thick winter cloud cover here in Canada, and a massive flash came through the clouds like a hot knife through butter. And this is me. Okay, I'm coming out. I began to engage. It became very automatic for me. Can you power
Mhm.
up? And I've recorded well over 200
Yeah.
videos of an object you can't see
Yeah.
responding by powering up. I've now had multiple objects do it. But the thing about this triangle is very important because it's like a key moment. Come now, May 2021, we're in our respective back porch, me, Matt, and James. Matt notices lights dancing in a cloud. It was around 7 p.m.
Mm.
and it's still fairly light out. So it took me a few seconds. I notice I see the lights, and so does James. We're now in the backyard. I'm facing the driveway, and triangle comes in, but it looks more holographic. And it's to the
Mhm.
right, about 250 feet. And I say, "Triangle, it's here." They turn around. By the time it got over the garage of our neighbors behind us, before our eyes, vanished. So James is having like a religious experience. He's really freaking out. Matt's like, "Holy smokes." 5 minutes go by. We're now in our respective stances again. And again, I'm facing the driveway and we're talking.
Mm.
Triangle comes in again, even more energetic. Now, if you think of a triangle, cut it top to bottom, two
Mhm.
pieces. Now go horizontal, four. It was coming together and moving apart like a
Wow.
transformer. Same trajectory, vanished. From there, I've now gone on to have well over 2,000 encounters, including Merkabas, including cylinder shaped objects, other paranormal phenomena. And this is important to mention, every encounter has been peaceful and uplifting. And there are times when the trio have appeared. And so these are three objects. September 11th, actually, 2025, early morning, two objects appeared overhead. They go lights out. The third appears. The strength, support, and unconditional love I experienced in that
Mm.
encounter, I almost can't put into words.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
So you use the word Merkaba. Is that the one with the spinning wheels and the eyes? Yeah, I
So
thought
that,
so.
yeah. So
That's a
these objects,
biblical thing.
yeah. So these change shape and color multiple times a second. My very first encounter with the Merkabas was April 2023. The red one, and I didn't know that I was being photobombed by the blue one. But when I locked eyes on the red one, I have screenshots of it. It looked like a red triangle with extended wingtips. But these
Mm.
objects actually change shape and color multiple times a second. They're absolutely incredible.
Why do you think you are able to tap into them now? Because we most of us know about Chris Bledsoe.
Yeah,
He records these orbs, and I'm
yeah,
always like fascinated with them. He can command them
yeah,
on cue, and you seem to be able to do that as well.
yeah.
Command them on cue. You talk to them. You say, "Power up, please." And so these entities. Now, I've heard from a lot of people that are authorities in the field of the demonics, that these are fallen angels that are tricksters. They're not really ET. Like, what say you about that whole thing?
So soon after the encounter started, I went in within and I started asking who, what, when, where, why, like what is the
Mhm.
purpose in this? And the downloads were coming just as fast as I could write. So to clarify from one perspective, these are parallel future versions of us. So having
Mm,
tapped into my multidimensional self, it makes perfect sense that I'm now experiencing this. They've made it clear what would be the purpose of us revealing ourselves en masse when the majority of people don't know truly who they are. They would just be another distraction. So for now, they've been sort of in that perspective selective, but
mm,
they every like I said, operating through my vibrational frequency through stillness, my discernment is incredibly heightened. I can actually detect these when they're actually more wave than particle, when you can't really see them. And I'll say to the guys, there's going to be a power up there or a triangle is there. And next thing you know, it's manifesting. So I can't put into words, like I said, the strength and support, the unconditional love that's experienced. We're coming into the realization is that what has always been present has just been out of sight and mind. And
mm,
part of this unfolding of new earth is we're coming to the end, and this is important to mention, the end of the separation experiment between human beings and the rest of creation. God, or if you say source, is limitless and expresses itself as countless forms. Countless. When I say countless, like, and it includes these beings. So these are angelic, they're high vibrating. Some of these encounters challenge and rival my own third eye activation when I
mm,
transcended the body. So incredibly powerful. The important thing too is when I'm observing these, there's no thoughts and there's no beliefs. So I'm not getting carried away. I'm simply interacting. I'm there for that time. Let's say it's 30 minutes or an hour, but there's no beliefs. I allow the energy within and without to speak to me. And that's so you're operating from certainty. You're not operating from fear, doubt,
mm.
especially.
So you're using psionics really to
Yeah,
communicate with
yeah,
these entities.
yeah,
And they're receptive to you and they're responsive to you,
yeah,
correct? So you
absolutely.
said they're versions of our future selves. Am I right?
So parallel future versions. As human beings, we sort of think we see time as like linear, past, present,
Mhm,
future. It's all happening now in the now.
mhm,
When you have sort of the thinking mind, we can't sort of grasp it. One either accepts it or doesn't. But when you realize that this is a multi-dimensional, multi-layered reality, that everything's happening now, then you have an understanding that they're just in higher frequencies. A lot of
mhm,
times guiding us, uh, offering us inspiration, supporting us. It's just we've been so uh, physical body centered and sort of closed off from what's around us. That's the reason why. But like with
mm.
anything, when you become aware of something and you approach it without fear, you allow for an unfolding to happen. And whether it's enlightenment, whether it's healing, strength, inner
Yeah,
peace, and the
yeah.
phenomena.
Are these entities, angelic beings, different than the grays or other types of ET that we often hear about?
That's a great question. It's a variety of phenomena. So I've recorded angelic beings. I have one that shot up, went straight up, and did a loop de loop. The energy back there was incredibly powerful. There was one evening when I said, "Guys, there's a lot of energy back here." A massive orb flew in front of me. When I take a screenshot of that orb, I see a gray. Again,
Oh,
is
wow.
very very neutral experience. So I think this is
Mm,
important to say because I don't want to, it's important not to negate anyone else's experience. I think if you, whatever presents itself, if you react and you become fearful, it's going to be a fearful experience even
sure.
if it is neutral. But operating, I think at the vibrational frequency I'm at, I'm calling in like energy, and that's what's
Mm,
happening. Um, so it never gets old, but also even now it's so profound. And like I said, I've had so many encounters, And they're here. They've made it clear. This is important to mention. They've made it clear they're not our saviors because they already see an enlightened being within all of us. So they're here to inspire, to remind us, and this is very key, remind us of our potential. Because I've heard of, I don't have much experience with Sasquatch. I've had one encounter when I was in California a couple of years back, but I've watched documentaries where people have done that mind speak, and the Sasquatch has said things like, "You can do what we can do, like shapeshift, teleport, but y'all have forgotten your potential." And that's what, so that they're reminding us. So I often say enlightenment is only the beginning, and it's true, because our potential is limitless.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how these entities, they're in your backyard, really, right? Is that where you're, or do you go out to like the woods? Like, what's that whole experience like?
I love this question. They're here. There have been times when I've gone grocery shopping, they've appeared, and I've recorded them over the parking lot. They've appeared at my sister's house in Brampton, Ontario. They went there the one weekend. It was my birthday. She saw the spontaneous flashes with me. That one encounter where people were letting out expletives, I had my
Mhm.
neighbors with me and my niece and my two sisters, and they were like freaking out. The one where the triangle came in as sort of a cigar-shaped object, often there's a spontaneous flash just before it appears, and it did so. But that one encounter, that was May 9th, 2022, when it came in as 5 orbs, 200 feet above me. I've recorded it as two.
Close.
I've recorded it as 2, 3, 9, a dozen. We've seen 100. There was the December 4th, 2022. I describe it as a whirlwind of activity in cosmic contact. What happened was my neighbors called me and said, "Thank you," and said, "Get out here, stuff is happening." I think I was watching The Bionic Man, so I was like not wanting to leave. I was watching,
Yeah,
one of my
yeah.
favorite shows. I get out there, and within a few minutes, Matt was closer to me. Triangle came in as a very 3D object, one light at the tip, and I go, "Triangle." James missed it. So James was a bit bummed, and it lasted 4 or 5 seconds. 2 minutes later, James goes, "What is that?" Suddenly, so remember I mentioned those gray pads the very
Yeah.
first time I saw Triangle?
Yep.
Suddenly there were hundreds in the size of a giant eraser in the sky.
Wow.
And James goes, "What is that?" I go, "That's Triangle." These objects transform. So it's consciousness based, they have no limits. The other thing it's important to mention is you don't reach that level of unlimited potential unless you're benevolent, unless you are pure love, light, and all they've done this whole time is observe us and offer inspiration, offer insights, technology, things like that. But like I said, we're coming to the point where we're coming to the end. Governments are trying their hand sort of at, although they're not doing a really great job of their disclosure.
Yeah.
It's very limited. We're talking about enlightened beings that are transcendent. And so it takes one who is operating from universal consciousness or that dimension of inner stillness to have an idea of what's truly taking place.
So, how have these encounters changed you? How do you think, like, what have you morphed into since you've been in contact with them?
That's a wonderful question. They really haven't changed me except expanded my awareness of my multidimensional self. And not that I needed to know that the unified field, like we're all one and connected, but when I have objects that appear to be half a mile away from me responding on Instagram, my one pinned video, I had a massive flash in the northern sky. It was about 12:30 midnight. I said, "Can you do that again?" And at the 15-second mark, Triangle responds by doing one massive power up. So there is
Yeah.
no distance in the unified field. This is also important. If I could add this, when it
Yeah.
comes to manifesting, Source hears us because there is no
Mhm.
distance. The key is to let go of the resistance and know it's done. Cultivate faith and trust. People say, "Well, how do I do that?" Look
Yeah.
back briefly on the past and look to a sticky situation where a way was made where it looked like there was no way. And that will remind you to cultivate faith and trust.
Yeah, because a lot of people, and I want to say hi to Janie Mashburn. Thank you so much, Janie. We love having you. A lot of people get frustrated because they're not having these encounters,
Mm.
and they're saying like, "How come others can see them and I can't? I'm a spiritual person." Is it is it in the wanting to see them that we don't?
That's a great question. So part of it is, I can't judge someone on the inner work they've done or haven't, but I would offer these key things. You want to approach a potential encounter through non-attachment, because
Mhm.
they're enlightened beings. So becoming
Right.
frustrated will basically just do this, just keep the veil there, just close it
Okay.
off. So and just be very heart-centered, come from a space of fearlessness. Even now, they are very, from one point of view, you could say it was all baptism by fire, but often, even now, they will start off with one object appearing, and next thing you know, I have objects 200 feet overhead. Even now, 5 years later, they're still, very, very conscious and very mindful. And I'm like, come closer. Like, I'm, there's
Yeah.
no, there's no fear in me whatsoever. So,
Have they
um,
responded to that? Have they come well, you said 200 feet above, that's not that far away, really.
Um, I haven't shared this one much, and I will, if you wanna, I will share it. I've had
Oh,
a
yes.
being come within 10 feet of me. So
Wow. Tell
so
us.
it was summer, about 2 summers ago, and I guess, is it the fireflies that light up at night? Is it
Yes.
fireflies or June bug? Fireflies?
Yes.
So what happened was, I was in the backyard by myself, and I suddenly saw, if you think of the movie Predator, when they're more blended in their environment, they look like
Yeah.
water moving.
Yep.
So coming, flying, I'll describe it as Superman, about 15, 20 feet above me, flew in, he went vertical, and he started to descend, and all the
Mm.
bugs lit up. Matt came out his back door, opened the door, and shot up, gone, just left.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it was vibrating on a plane where you were able to perceive it, kinda
Yes.
like a predator, because I think that's
Yeah.
what that thing was doing,
Yeah.
just changed its vibrational pattern
Frequency.
or some
I
yeah,
i
frequency.
it's important to mention, the third eye, and giving life to it, becoming aware of its potential. That integration of third eye with the senses is what affords me, when they're all pretty much invisible, and I then expand the video. People are like, "How are you seeing this?" It's almost virtually undetectable. You see them
Yes.
as waves of energy. There was actually one video I shared recently, but it
Mm.
happened about 2 years ago. I'm observing an object, and as I finished talking at the 46-second mark, it looked like a flying fish. It looked like energy, and I didn't detect that one at the
Mm.
46-second mark. They're all around us. Like I said, just in higher vibrational
Yeah.
frequency. But the more we become aware that we never left the spiritual realm, it's here and now,
Mhm.
the two worlds are one, that shifts you. That totally shifts you, because now you realize we're not in a concrete environment, it's multidimensional,
Yeah.
and you can raise your vibrational frequency. And if you have the desire to make contact, it's possible.
Wow. So for you folks leaving some comments, Julio can read them too, just because I don't pop them all up there. He's seeing them all, so no worries about that. Um, what we have some time left, if you don't mind. I have a few more
Sure.
questions for you.
Yeah.
What are you doing other than writing books, Julio? Are you giving lectures? I believe you said that you're doing that, right? Like, are you teaching courses? Because I interview and I'm so grateful for the experience. So many people, but you are one of the most genuine people in terms of what you're saying and how you express it
Thank you.
that I've had the pleasure to speak with. I mean,
Thank
I've
you.
been almost it's a blessing. I've been almost talking to you for 2 hours and I'm riveted every moment of that 2 hours.
Thank you.
You really are a uniquely gifted, special human being, and we're so blessed to be able to talk to you. So what are you doing? Because you're a light worker, clearly. What are you doing other than writing books? Tell us.
So, other than writing books, I do workshops locally, and I do offer one on one teachings. The thing about the one on one teachings, it doesn't take much for one to really make a few massive shifts with some deep insights into how
Mm.
we operate. Once we understand how we operate, um, that really clears things up for us. But those are the things I'm doing. Other than that, just living through state of fulfillment and gratitude, and being an anchor for new earth.
Yeah.
It's happening. So the outer world will appear to be more chaotic, let it. It'll appear to be more dramatic, let it. Know, and this is important, when you know that a way has been made, that will set the stage for a
Mm,
way. But you need to know. You need to know that it's done.
right. Right. We need to come out of that psyop that we've all been,
Yeah.
because our history, our educational
Yeah.
process, the way it's developed, medical, everything is just been designed to trap us. It's almost like they want the loosh of our spirit,
Yeah.
and they'll do anything to. I know it sounds like a conspiracy theory nut job, but I fully believe
It's
that to
not
be true.
though.
Yeah, it's not. It's absolutely not. It's what they thrive on, these satanic entities. And let's face it, we recognize the darkness,
Yeah.
and we have to have the darkness within us,
Yeah.
because without it we can't have the light.
Yeah.
It's yin and yang, right? So
Yeah.
we need to have that balance. Do you your one-on-one sessions that you offer? I guess you do that through Zoom. And do you counsel folks like on their trauma, like how to get out of their trauma, or just about like what are some of the things that you counsel folks on?
So making inner shifts, getting unstuck. I've done distant healing. I can share that if you want, with a medical student. She was overseas. Uh, Any, I went through some pretty profound, like I said, adversity, intense anxiety, and the depression for 14 years, and the unwanted or undesirable experiences that came with it. All of that gave me deep and profound insights into the how we operate as human beings. And once
Mhm.
I went beyond that, you know, really all of us have this one desire, and it's really to just live peacefully, live
Yeah.
abundantly, live with health. And really, if we say our soul, or SOLE, or SOUL, purpose is really to remember who we are in stillness. And
Mm,
that is sort of, if we can realize that stillness is who we are, it's already within us. There's nothing I can do to add to any of you. I see an enlightened master within each and every one of you. All I can do, though, is point you and remind one of that. We're
mm,
already whole and complete, all of us. It's remembering that, because so the ego has, from one point of view, hijacked our consciousness, having us think we're separate from source, separate from each other, and that we're just physical bodies, when the truth is we're limitless, eternal, invulnerable, indestructible beings, always one with source. We never left home, we only think we did. And new earth is just awakening to the spiritual dimension within. All our potential is within, and it's in our imagination, intention, what we believe is possible in our lives, all of
mm.
it. So yeah.
So Janie, thank you so much. She
Thank you,
expresses.
Janie.
Yeah, she's wonderful. She expresses here, I bought Maxim W. Ferk's books, The Lost Tribe of Bigfoot. That sounds like a good read, Janie. I apologize for being late. No worries. I will watch from the beginning. I will also purchase some of Julio's books.
Oh,
That is
thank
so
you,
sweet.
Cheryl.
That is so sweet.
If you want, I can briefly talk about that brief encounter I had in California with
Absolutely. We
Sasquatch.
have time. Go right
Yeah.
ahead.
So I had gone, I was supposed to do a podcast in Las Vegas, but I had time. So I went and visited a friend in California first, and we went to Mount Shasta, and we
Ah,
went to
figured.
we went to one of the forested areas, and I inadvertently recorded an orb dropping to my right.
Mm,
So I noticed that after the fact. Fast forward about 20 minutes, we went to a parking area, and it's just me and her. And when I say these steps were heavy, it sounded like a 2,000-pound man walking towards me.
wow.
So it was coming from the tree line. I walked right up to the tree line, stopped, everything went still, and I stood there for about 10 seconds, and then nothing. But she was like even alerted. The steps were so impressive. So impressive.
Did you feel like the ground beneath your feet vibrate?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It was so shifting, and
Yeah.
all that did to me was just bring the stillness. I became incredibly silent and
Mm.
just went right up to the line, and I'm like, that whole area is magical.
Oh
It,
God, yeah, it's like
le-
on a love line or
it,
something.
it's incredibly. I mean, when you operate through stillness, everything is magical in a sense and everywhere. But that area, the energies there are really off the charts.
Yeah. So you saw it as an orb first?
So about 20 minutes prior to that, I'm just sort of panning around recording, and I see this beautiful orb just drop slowly, and it was a
Mm.
beautiful contrast to the tree. And I posted that a while ago on social media, and like I said, about 15-20 minutes later, it was like 2 or 3 good steps, but they were so heavy. Heavy.
Yeah, what an amazing encounter.
Yeah.
You folks need to follow Julio on his social media. You're on TikTok, obviously. We just showed
Yeah.
that. You're also on YouTube, and it's always at Julio Consiglio. So you
Yeah.
can just, search for him and find him. I started following all of your social media
Thank you.
and watching. So you're on a lot of UFO shows too, like where you talk about just your encounters, correct?
I have more people are coming. Number one, there's a lot of questions, right? Because
Mm,
a lot of times we've been told these are nut and bolt craft. You know, they've retrieved things, and
yeah.
I have my insights on that, and it's quite it's transcendent to what is being told to us.
Oh
It's a
goodness.
whole different thing.
We have to have you back and talk about all these things. I mean,
Love to.
honestly, I've still 2 pages of questions left to ask you, and it's 10 of, uh, seriously, you're mind blowing me. Um,
Uh,
what did I wanna just ask you before we go? Oh, it just popped out of my brain, but it'll come
about the
back.
UFOs.
No, no, I think it was more about the work that
Mm,
okay. So you're offering these sessions to folks, you do some healing,
mm,
and I always like to make a point out of the work that you guys do
mm,
because it shouldn't be taken lightly. I mean, you've devoted your whole life to being this teacher, this light
mm.
worker, empath, all of the above. So, where you tell us, where do you want folks to go to find you and reach out to you? Is it your website? Like, tell us.
If people have questions and want to reach out, they can go to julioconsiglio.com. They can shoot off an email if they have questions. And there's also links there to the books if they're interested.
And spell out that because we do have a lot of
Sure.
people that are listening.
Sure. It's JiulioConsiglio.com, julioconsiglio.com.
Yeah, so folks, make sure you reach out. And do you do conferences that folks can attend or are they just more private?
I'm open and I'm willing and I'm looking to maybe do some conferences. My ultimate goal is to open up a teaching center
Oh,
in Ontario, and then with a big enough space that I can do sky watches and have
oh, that
people
would be
come, and
brilliant.
where I can sort of do a lecture, get everyone's
Yeah,
vibration up and equal, and then that. So that's the ultimate goal.
yeah. That's kind of what Chris Bledsoe's doing. He takes
Yeah.
people out on tours and he lets them experience these orbs, which are just amazing. But we're going to keep watching your videos and they're mind blowing. I mean, when you say power up, they exactly do that. So they're
It's,
clearly communicating with you on a telepathic level.
It's quite incredible. The triangle is the main one that photobombs many of my
Yeah,
encounters. That's the one that
yeah,
responds. So,
yeah.
like I said, even now, just observing these things, it never gets old.
Yeah, never, never. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Julio. It's like I said before, it's truly a blessing. And I am going to email you because we're already booking into next year.
Mm.
And I want to make sure I get you on my calendar. If you don't mind, I'd like to schedule another talk with you because I find your work your spirit, your entity, all of you just absolutely genuine and fascinating. Do you have a copy of your book you could hold up? Because I have the PDF version.
Yeah, I just sort of it's sort of like a proof copy, but that's my latest book. I'm not sure if you guys can see
Beautiful.
that, your highest vibration, but I just wanted to say, Carol Ann, you are so gracious and kind. I can't begin to thank you. The questions were synchronistic, just sometimes blew my mind, the timing of them. So thank you for doing the work that you're doing, and it doesn't go unnoticed.
Oh,
There's
thank
I feel much gratitude from them. So thank you.
Oh, goodness. Like I said, it's truly a blessing crossing paths with you. And we will stay in touch. I
Yeah,
will be
absolutely.
sending you some dates. I love your book. I love your work. And God bless you so
Thank you.
much.
God bless you too.
Thank you,
Many
dear
thanks.
friend. I will
And
talk to you soon.
take care. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Wasn't that amazing, guys? Blew me away. I don't often get blown away or have moments where I'm speechless, but I definitely was today. I absolutely adore Julio. So thank you all so much for tuning in. You've been listening to Ethereal, and my dog knows when I say goodbye to you guys, it's the trippiest thing. They say dogs don't listen. This dog listens to everything. As soon as I start saying goodbye, Oliver starts his antics. He comes over and starts punching me and everything. I love dogs, so you'll have to forgive me. But anyway, thank you again for listening. You've been listening live. Hello, Oliver. I guess he wants to come and say hello. So we have to indulge Oliver. There's that big guy. Say hi. Say hi to everyone. Yes, he's such a sweetheart. Oh, you're still driving, Heidi. No worries, my dear friend. Gratitude to you. And yes, you're getting so many wonderful comments, Julio. Folks absolutely love this talk. But yes, we want to thank United Public Radio again and the UFO Paranormal Network, which are the same. And again, you can listen 105.3 on the Gulf Coast and 107.7 FM in beautiful New Orleans. Julio, that was truly deeply enriching and profound conversation. We've covered so many topics, and we're going to get back at you because we need to have you back on here. It's an absolute must. And I'm going to try to do that sooner than later, right, Oliver? Well, it's time to say goodbye to you all. I will see you tomorrow. And please be sure and tune in at 3 o'clock. And I'm going to have the wonderful blessing of interviewing Michelle Durocher again. She is the manager of this network. And we are going to talk about the ancient lore and forgotten history of the dragon. So make sure that you guys tune in. Yes, Heidi. And yes, Benno, he was and is awesome. Julio, it rocks. He just shot it out of the park today. It was brilliant. And I'm so excited that we're going to have him back, right, Oliver? Yes. Okay, guys, I will see you tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you so much to everyone in the chat. You guys make my day. I love your comments. I love your presence. I feel it through the screen. You are all light workers and beautiful people. God bless each and every one of you. I will see you all tomorrow. Thanks and bye bye. Julio, stick around.
Oh my God, those eyes.
Oh, my Poochie.
Oh,
Oh, what happened? You keep popping away. Oh, it's not ended the stream. Oh, goodbye, folks. Let me end this stream. There we go.